So welcome everyone again. We haven't done one of these videos in quite a long time. And Happy New Year to you, Mel. Thanks for joining us again. And so as we start every new year, we try to find out the trends, what's happening in around interior design, around tiles, colors, all these exciting things that happen around us. And today, Melanie from Chapters, as you know, she does all of our training, our interior design training with all of our staff. So we are all certified. So Melanie, yeah, if you can take it away and let us know what you have to show us today.
So, Nicole, thank you so much for the opportunity. This is, and you know this about me, it's one of my favorite things to do and to talk about is what's going on in interior design and trends. So I've got a whole lot of trends that are on the up and up. I'm going to go through them in no specific order. No specific personal preference, because we'll all have our personal preference with it. But I wanted to start with the high gloss trend. So, you know, high gloss surfaces or tiles are a great way to make a space feel brighter as they naturally reflect light. So we're seeing lots of homeowners or people who use spaces opting for high shine finishes to create warmth, illuminating effects in kitchens and bathrooms. And I often talk in our training about how fashion and interiors are so intrinsically linked to each other. And it's interesting how the high gloss lipstick and lip gloss and lip balm kind of trend is filtering into interior spaces. As human beings, we're very attracted to things that are glossy at the moment. So think metallic tones or metal accents in tiles as well. Those also bounce light off for a decorative shimmer, giving spaces that special and beautiful feeling. The next one is one of those trends that sort of keeps recreating itself over the last couple of trends, you know, decorative patterns, shapes, and specifically in things like mosaics. We're seeing a lot of patterns and shapes over the last couple of years. So bold colors and patterns are all trending in design right now. And we're seeing it across all types of interior spaces, and people are loving it. So there's this big growth in the maximalism type of interior space where it's all about color and texture and pattern, and this is coming across very strongly in that. So when it comes to tiles, decorative tiles you can create quite an illustrative type of arty look to, you know, turning a wall into a art feature, for example. So pattern tile becomes your visual focal point rather than an artwork or a type of paint finish or something like that. We're using tile surfaces to create those focal points, while the rest of spaces, that type of space is then balanced out with the neutral colors to prevent it becoming busy and overwhelming. And I'm going to touch on neutral colors a little bit later and what they're doing when we talk about natural stone, because those are also impacting what's going on in trends as well. So if you don't want to commit to an entire illustrative art type of wall, just choose a small accent space to create a decorative print or mosaic, and use a simple tile to create a textured three-dimensional type of installation. Also under this trend is your unique shapes. So you would have heard me a lot over the last couple of years talk about the popularity of geometrics, and that's a trend that's carrying through to 2023. Triangles, hexagons, parallelograms, diamonds, and this is also linked to an Art Deco trend I'm going to talk about shortly.
We've actually just launched to the latter part of last year. It's actually called the Chill Pill mirror. So it's the LED mirror in that exact shape that we've now launched into the stores. So we have seen quite a bit of that coming through, and large mirrors, big. Yes. Big round, like 1.2, 1.5, 1.6.
Exactly. So you're seeing that trend now coming across to sort of finishing surfaces like tiles, and you're getting the pill tile, which is almost like a softer version of the Kit Kat tile. It's absolutely stunning. So the next one on my list is natural stone, which is just an expected one because, you know, especially as South Africans, it's something that we love incorporating into our spaces, and it's something that we really connect to. So biophilic design, as we know, has been huge over the past couple of years, and it's definitely not going to go out of style anytime soon, considering the way the world is going and where wellness, mental health, physical health, and emotional health, and all those things coming out of COVID is becoming so much more important. We're seeing this uptick in trends like spa bathroom designs, and that's coming off the back of biophilic design and the wellness trend. And homeowners are starting to favor much more natural stone finishes or tiles from materials like granite, slate, marble, travertine, limestone, anything that connects us to nature, because that's one of the core principles or core pillars of biophilic design, is having being able to see and feel physical elements. So it's very easy to create a luxurious, dramatic look with natural elements. It doesn't have to be hard and cold, with things like onyx or marble or limestone. And while I was doing some research earlier this year for a talk I was doing, I saw this most magnificent high luxury bathroom that was completely girly, because it had the one wall and the floor were all made out of this beautiful, beautiful pink marble with this pattern in it. So it doesn't have to be a cold space. It can be feminine, it can be refreshing, it can be biophilic, it can be warm, it can be any of those sorts of things. So, and also linked to the natural stone is our need, specifically in South Africa, but around the world as well, is our need now to connect our outdoors to our indoors, and to create a connection to the outside world. And I'm going to talk about that as a separate trend shortly.
Do you think it's as strong as it was then, or do you think we've kind of dispersed from that, still wanting that same design, bringing nature, bringing the softness, bringing the green, but do you think it's as strong as it was a year or 2 years ago?
After any global crisis that affects existential our existential beings, there will be a very sharp uptick immediately afterwards in terms of so in this instance, a need to connect to outdoors, so redoing spaces or creating those sorts of spaces. What will happen is you will have this initial very high uptick, but it won't go back down immediately to where it was. The demand might not be as high as it initially was, but it'll steady off and it'll be higher than it was initially. COVID and the impact it had on the world and humanity at all levels is, you and I were talking about this, is far more reaching than any of us could have ever expected from an emotional or a physical point of view. And so there's a lot of mindset changes, lifestyle changes, wellness commitments, refocusing of our lives and what we're doing with our spaces and our time. And I think this trend of connecting to the outdoors is definitely here to stay. Like I said, it won't be that such a sharp uptick from a low base, but it'll definitely level off at a higher level. And the last thing on natural kind of finishes or surfaces or products is the connection to nature in a very interesting way. So in 2022, there was a trend around natural colors. And Nicole, you and I were talking about this, where natural colors over the last decades have been grays and whites and yellows and creams and all of those sorts of things. There's a blush in there. But what's happened is, as biophilic design has taken off and as our need to connect to nature has got greater, our preference for neutral colors is shifting, and our neutral colors are becoming more nature-based. So you will see things like sandstone becoming more of a natural color, and you will see things like chalk becoming a more natural color, and a slate becoming or being considered a neutral color. So our neutral colors, or our perception of neutral colors, is also starting to shift at the moment, connecting to the outdoors. Then one I really like, which is because it's such an easy solve in an interior space, is textured tiles. So, sort of textured or three-dimensional type of surfaces created by tiles. Those are also going to be big. We could see it starting last year. It's going to be big in 2023. And a lot more people are starting to choose more irregular or shifting surfaces rather than those that look smooth or sleek. And depending on what your tile is made of, it might be made of that natural surface that we've just spoken about, and that's being linked then to this textured tile because it'll give you that biophilic visual connection. So textured decorative tile creates a sculptural effect for visually dramatic and striking focal walls or features. And it's an easy way to add some visual interest and depth into a room without going wild with colors or patterns, if that's not your thing. So plus there's a lot of different textures to choose from. You could have organic and simple or perfectly imperfect, the wabi-sabi type of look to it, handcrafted Moroccan type of finishes. Those are all popular, but geometric and metallic designs are also trending. So it's coming across all types of finishes, this textured type of demand that our bodies are demanding from us. Okay, so the next one I want to talk about, Nicole, is monochromatic checkerboard patterns. And this is also connected a little bit to this the textured tile that I was talking about in the previous one. And this is what I love about trends is they never stand in isolation. It's a little bit like human beings. We all sort of rub off on each other and influence each other. And trends does the same thing. They cuddle together and they friends with each other and they do different things when they pair up with each other. Nicole, I've shared this image with you, and it's such a beautiful representation of this trend that I'm going to talk about now, which is the monochromatic checkerboard pattern. So we all know that there's the very traditional checkerboard type of finish that you see often on a wall or floor, and it'll be either in the way that tiles are laid or it comes through in a preset up mosaic. Your sort of very classic black and white type of checkerboard patterns. But checkerboards have taken over fashion interiors over the last few years, incidentally enough with stripes. They're very often paired with stripes at the moment. And whether you like it or not, this checkerboard feel is definitely going to be around for 2023. So like I said, that high contrast black and white was very timeless and very classic. But what's happened to the execution now is it's become a lot more muted, a lot more monochromatic, and it's giving this very sort of subtle contrast and texture. And if you have a look at the picture that I've shared with you, this is essentially a checkerboard pattern, but the tiles are slightly 3D. You can see some of them are slightly bigger than others, and it's giving the checkerboard impact with a textured tile from our last trend. But have a look at how understated and neutral and delicious on the eyes that this trend and this particular tile is.
It's almost got an artisanal feel to it. It looks like each piece has literally been placed by hand, but it also, to me, it feels like there's a lot of heritage with it, like it's got history. So you have that emotional attachment with it, and you want to know what's actually happened in that space because it has history.
Yes. And that history actually is a biophilic response to nature, because your eyes are seeing something that is natural, that comes from nature, that comes from 600 million years ago, and our bodies and our brains connect to it, and that's the emotion that you are describing there. Okay, so the next one is statement backsplashes. So backsplashes are having a moment. The antithesis of subways, for very many years, it was the absolute norm for subways to be used on backsplashes. You would see it in every home and every office kitchen and those sorts of things. And what's happened now is the complete opposite of a subway tile is having their moment, and that is statement backsplashes. So those are set to be big trends in 2023. So traditionally, kitchens have been designed very much around the cabinetry, the layout, the countertops. But now we're starting to see more and more kitchens being sent around these super dramatic statements of the backsplashes, and it can be a tile, it can be a glass print, it can be a natural stone finish, whatever the choice is, and the design cues are being taken from that and feeding back into the room. It could be texture, it could be color that we're repeating in the room, rather than it being an afterthought or the other way around, where the backsplash is sort of coming from the cues of the space. So we're going to start seeing a lot of experimentation coming through in backsplashes in our kitchen spaces. So this is one of my favorite because it is such a sort of fly under the radar kind of a trend, but it is there consistently. And every time I do a trends talk or I do training, I question people about terracotta, and everybody loves terracotta, and it regularly appears on the trend radar. So timeless terracotta, we've labeled it timeless terracotta, is here for 2023 again, and they definitely having their moment. So from your baked clay tones that warm up a space, or an earthy texture that's just sort of the right balance between rugged and refined. It's no wonder that a terracotta is this forever trend. It sort of speaks of summer and kitchens and beautiful outdoor tables with grapes growing over them, and Mediterranean lunches and chilled glasses of wine, or a warmth around the kitchen hearth, or something like that. Terracotta is one of those types of surfaces or textures that really creates an emotional response, like we were talking about just now. So terracotta, the more you use it and the older it gets, the better and more characterful it will look. It develops that beautiful patina to it. So to add inviting warmth into a space, lay terracotta tiles from your kitchen, hallway, guest loo, dining room, outdoor space, indoor space. They really do work everywhere. And I'm a big fan of terracotta because it just keeps coming back and back and back. It's sort of got a childhood feeling to it. Another one that I'm thrilled to see, Moroccan, Magical Moroccan was around a few years ago, and it sort of had its own little blip on the radar, but it's back with a vengeance. So we've very much seeing a Moroccan type of feel coming through. And this is, again, where two trends overlap each other. So I spoke about colors and shapes and patterns earlier. This very much is reinforced in the Moroccan type trend. So it's all about vibrant colors, intricate designs, the mixture of textures. Moroccan style has become one of the significant trends over the last couple of years, and it's going from strength to strength. So you're seeing this worldwide success of North African handicraft types of products, such as Berber rugs, raffia baskets, those beautiful brass metal lanterns, the decorative Moroccan tiles. Moroccan is really having its moment in the sun. So here, Nicole and I were talking earlier on about color of the year, our magenta. So color there's always going to be a trend around color, and it's not always necessarily color of the year. At the moment, trendy colors are those that are one with nature. We constantly inspired by the natural world, from material to texture to color. And 2023 will see a collection of palettes that are very much one with nature, helping to create those sort of grounding, calming, relaxed atmospheres in the spaces we work, live, and play in. And I think coming out of COVID, it's really necessary. So as we try and slow our lives down a little bit to a less frenetic pace, and hopefully the world sort of stops and pauses to breathe and reflect on what the last couple of years were, more and more of us are gaining pleasure from recharging and relaxing at home. We've turned much more inward as nesters than outwards, and being more sociable away from our safe spaces. So when it comes to colors that are connected to nature, tiles, think lush greens, deep moss tones, rustic reds of autumn leaves. Green in all its forms is ideal for interior spaces. It's soothing, it's calming, and it's inherently tranquil and connected to nature. So it's going to have longevity, this one. And then I mentioned Art Deco earlier. Art Deco, it went out of fashion for a good couple of decades there, but it's definitely having its heyday. Art Deco's been on the up and up in the last couple of years, and the very traditional Art Deco fan shape that you see in a lot of traditional type of Art Deco spaces is taking the lead on 2023 glamour. You know, it makes a beautiful, a striking visual impact, and it's taking decorative design to a new level. So think strong colors like black, white, beautiful metallic finishes or edges, your unique geometric shapes with scallops and hexagons and all those sorts of things. And as a little bit more of a biophilic type natural person, there is a part of my personality that loves this Art Deco glamour to it, and I will find a way to use it in my life at some point. Bigger is better. Bigger is always better. So large format tiles, you know, offer a really striking appearance that guarantees a bit of a head turn when people enter a room. The large scale and the large size gives us that sort of much more clean, minimal look because, as we know, it's got minimal grout lines. And one of the things about large format tiles or finishes is they bring a decadence, and you wouldn't necessarily always associate decadence with large formats because of they might be made out of a slightly more natural or rustic material, but they bring a decadence to spaces because they actually associated with the most premium of spaces. So think of very premium type hotels. They are using large formats, so we make the association that this is a premium type product. So it's a top 10 for 2023. They're ideal if you want to make small bathrooms or small kitchens look bigger because of that minimal grout lines thing. And then here is my last one I'm going to touch on, and we spoke about it a little bit earlier, is that indoor-outdoor connection. So there's been this big uptick to create a seamless feel from indoors to outdoors, and that's become a trend in itself. You know, we're looking to make it easier to move between our spaces and enhance our connection with whatever our outdoor space is, whether it's oceans or greenery or desert or the people around us, the neighborhood around us. So using large format tiles is one way to create that seamless connection between in and out. And we're seeing that a lot of homeowners are really looking to create one large living space, you know, that connects the two spaces together, which is why large formats are ticking up in trend, because it connects the two together and it makes it feel almost as one. So like we said earlier, I don't think this is a trend that is going to fall by the wayside. I think it's here to stay based on previous history. And that is all the trends that I have in for you at the moment.
So, Melanie, I know that we both touched on it because, you know, as we head into the beginning of the new year, we do a lot of research in what's going to happen in the year coming, trends, colors, all of that. And you mentioned it earlier, was that there's nothing actually that's amazingly new. People are almost reliving what we know and what we've done and what we've heard. And, you know, us just being overseas as well, we've seen the repeat. So the woods are still in quite strongly. The large formats, definitely, when we were overseas, all we saw was large formats. I mean, we saw slabs that were 3.8 large. You know, what concerns me is the transportation and the handling of it. But these guys seem to have a knack of what to do, and they're just getting bigger and bigger. And the furniture that's being made by the large formats is also, it's amazing to see. It's an art. But yeah, back on the trends, I think I'm excited because it's a lot less work for us, because we're just really repeating what's happened in the past. But fully agree with you on the colors, the vibrance, you know, the shapes. People, I think, are getting a lot braver.
Yes.
In their choices. And I think also, and I don't know if you found it, with the access to social media, to Pinterest, to all of these, you know, the block, everything that's available to us.
So people are a lot more informed than they used to be because they've got an access to Pinterest, online, the block, the home channel, all of those sorts of things. So over the last, let's round it up and say decade, 15 years, people have become a lot more informed, and of what they want, what the trends are, ways to do things, ways to install tiles. So that information that they've got, that they've educated themselves about, it swings back around to people like yourselves, like Italtile, where your staff need to be as well informed and as educated around interior design. And Nicole, as you know, that's why we do all your design training for your guys, is customers are better informed than they used to be, and that's, you can see it in the trends because everybody loves everything at the moment.
Okay, but Mel, thank you so much. And that's the first video for the year. Really intrigued, excited to see what's going to happen. And thank you from our side.
Such a pleasure. Thank you, Nicole.